That's kind of like when you're a teenager and you snap at your parents suddenly and they're like, oh, he's changing. That's kind of what's going on with Gizmo here. He's struggling with the inner turmoil of his nature. Hi, I'm LoCascio. I will be breaking down my role as Gizmo in Gremlins, TheWildBatch. What was the audition process like for this role? Gizmo is such an iconic character in pop culture. What was your initial reaction when you were offered the role? So the audition process was me in my closet, screaming, essentially, just going like, oh, no! That was just a normal day for me. How did I feel when I got Gizmo? I freaked out. I mean, it sort of started in a weird way where they like, all right, we're calling you in to do a test. So like 6 months before the show got picked up, I was brought in for an animation test, and I was just like, this is really cool. I hope they do something with it, because I grew up with Gizmo. I'm a kid who watched Gremlins all the time, and so, you know, it was a part of our culture and a part of my DNA. My dad used to do sort of a Gizmo-type voice, so it was something that I grew up with, where we would just, oh, look, yeah, look. It was just like a sound we'd make all the time. So I just assumed everyone did this, but apparently not. Could you walk us through your process of finding the voice of Gizmo, both physically and mentally? What adjustments did you make as you found his voice? The voice initially was just something, I said it before, but my dad used to do the voice when I was a kid for like, he would do the Howie Mandel, like Bobby's World voice all the time. It would make my stuffed animals talk in a Gizmo type voice. That was something I picked up from him. Physically, it's like the voice is almost like when you take a balloon and you let a little bit of air out of it at a time. It's like, it's that basically. And mentally, what adjustments do I make? I mean, I try to imagine I'm a small furry Mogwai with giant eyes and big ears. I try to compress myself down. Hence why the voice it's so tight and tiny. He's got little vocal cords, so he can only breathe through a certain amount of space. And that's where everything, all his emotions are tiny. Can you talk about Gizmo's character arc this season? What has it been like to work on the internal struggle we, as the audience, see him going through? So this season, we kind of get to see Gizmo deal with his inner turmoil. So for a Mogwai, most of the Mogwai we meet tend to kind of lean towards the evil Mogwai gremlin side, and Gizmo has been the one consistent good Mogwai. And we're getting to see him kind of go through like an emotional and physical puberty of sorts, where he's fighting his inner urge to resist and become that dark, what we would later refer to as gremlin. And so you'd see him with the red eyes and with his growling and sort of, what did we call it? Fritzing, I think is what we called it, or something like that, where there was a word where he would just sort of, his dark side comes out. And it's kind of like when you're a teenager and you snap at your parents suddenly and they're like, oh, he's changing. That's kind of what's going on with Gizmo here. He's struggling with the inner turmoil of his nature, and which is really fun, because he's not like, get to do a lot of like, eating things and freaking out. So yeah, and he needs to figure out whether or not he's going to become bad or stay good, cute Gizmo is what he's tortured by. How is it working with Z, Brendan, Gabby, and Isaac? It's great. They're awesome. One of my favorite things is we had to separate me and Isaac because he was pretty young when we first started recording, and anytime I spoke, he would start laughing. Not this voice, but the the Gizmo voice. But yeah, they're all wonderful to work with. That's the easy answer, is I love them all, and getting to do press with them and hang out with them is been the most fun, because we didn't get to record together outside of those few sessions pre-pandemic where Isaac couldn't stop laughing. Do you have a favorite moment from this season? There is a moment where Gizmo is sort of, he gets up his courage and goes and dives into the water to help Sam and fight the big bad. I won't spoil it. And there's just a beautiful moment in the music by Sherry Chung that just, one of my favorite things I've ever heard. And so it's not necessarily a moment I performed, but just like it's a little piece of just beautiful cinema. Yeah, Gizmo diving into the water was just a beautiful bit. And Sherry actually gave me a printout of the music of that exact part, which is really sweet, that she signed. What made you want to pursue acting as a career? I kind of fell into it with, I was Marty McFly in the Back to the Future game. That was the first thing I ever did. And I got that by just calling up the company and saying, hey, my name is AJ, I do an okay Marty McFly impression. I was wondering if you guys like if you need anyone to do the voice or anything, you know, give me a call maybe. And so I just left this insane voicemail that then got picked up by the rest of the studio, and they were like, hey, some guy called who sounds like Michael J. Fox, like, let's see if he can act. And so over the course of 3 months, I moved from New Jersey, where I was very depressed, to LA, where I was also depressed, but now I was warmer, so that was nice. What piece of advice we give to an aspiring actor? Find hobbies. If you're gonna act, acting is something that happens in between. I would say acting, for the most part, is a hobby for most actors. It's the stuff you do when you're not acting that's gonna keep you sane. So like, build stuff, get interested in other things. Like, acting is a small piece of your day. So, yeah, I mean, even when you're on set or recording or whatever, you have to keep yourself busy and be interested in other things. People that I know that are just obsessed with acting or getting the next gig kind of drive themselves crazy. So you have to just find hobbies. Start an Etsy store. Do something other than acting if you want to act. Be interested in everything. In Gremlins, TheWildBatch, Gizmo has become part of a new adventure. What's been the most exciting part of bringing this character back to life for a new generation of fans? The new adventure that Gizmo and Sam and Elle and the Wing family go on is so different than the films in the sense that you get to see them go on a big Lord of the Rings type adventure where they're moving through fantasy lands and meeting different creatures from Chinese mythology, and it's and then also American mythology in the latest season. And so we're getting to see what does Gizmo and the Gremlins and that family, how do they interact with the world on a broader scale as opposed to just being in a small town. And it's just a lot of fun. It's fun to see them be clever and figure things out and to constantly be moving and on the go and having these big grand adventures where they're out of place. And I feel like we get to see more of Gizmo being clever and figuring things out in these adventures, which is cool. I feel like this is a gateway in a lot of ways for kids who maybe think Gremlins is a little too scary, or if they're like, that's an old movie. It's like, I don't know, start here, and then eventually you'll learn to love the original Gremlins movies. Or at least that's what I hope. So, but it is cute to have kids come up to me and like, you're Gizmo. And I'm like, oh, it's amazing. Have you seen the movies? Like, no, I watched the show. And I'm like, that's awesome. One day you'll watch the movies and be scared like I was. Watch all episodes of Gremlins: TheWildBatch on Max now.